We started Hart Square back in 1973. Always been interested in wildlife. Built these ponds, put in wood duck boxes. Brought in a deer herd, brought in 4 Canadian geese, which now populated over 100. Set up different ponds that you could flood with jawapa millet for the ducks and the geese, and enjoyed doing and preserving wildlife.
No one could ever have imagined what the future had in store for this man, his family, and this land just south of Hickory. But looking back, it seemed predestined, all set in motion by the suggestion of a neighbor.
Hey, Doc, he said, you know, it would be great. There's an old log cabin falling down over here behind my house, and he said, it'd really look good on that upper pond you just built. And we put it up by hand, and we used skid poles and ropes. Then it wasn't long before the same young fella told me about a log barn that was nearby and said it would look nice by this log cabin. That basically is how it all got started.
Dr. Bob Hart, a well-known and much-loved Hickory physician, had discovered an obsession to go with his medical practice. Those cabins, which he found traipsing through woodland and field, spotting them from the air, rescuing many an abandoned old structure from time and weeds, and each one a welcome addition to what became known as Hart Square.
The dates range from 1763 all the way up to 1880. Almost every building has come within 15 to 20 miles from here. They all have been local in the Catawba Valley area.
After 40-plus years, he has amassed in one place the largest collection of historical log structures in the U.S. And as if the cabins alone weren't enough, Dr. Hart even gave them life.
In the business of flea marketing, you go in right at the crack of day.
Morning, Ryan. You're late setting up this morning. Were you oversleeping?
And people who are looking early are going to find the best buys for the money.
What about the cupping?
And you go in with blue jeans and tennis shoes is the best way to go in.
Hey, Dave, what's up?
My shoulder hurts, man.
I'm not doctoring today. I'm antiquing.
When your checks don't need to have Dr. Bob Hart on it. It's like a hidden treasure. You're looking for hidden treasure everywhere you go, and you know, you find them.
Spittoon out of a train station.
They're gonna ask $10 for it, you offer them $8. You never give them 10.
All right, that'll go with the pot. How much you want for the pot?
Decorating is probably part of the fun.
25, that's too high. 25.
Leave me in the middle of 30.
All right, $30. You're in the middle. I think it's European though.
I mean, I've learned so much from so many friends that are dealers.
Yeah, it's not a Piedmont. If it's a Piedmont, I'd bet.
And sometimes you're gonna find your best buys in the field. So it's good to know a little bit about whether it's authentic and how old it is or how well it's been taken care of.
That's a good buy right here.
His good buys have included a hand-cranked butter churn and a dog-powered treadmill. Each lovingly placed treasure a fresh clue to our state's frontier origin.
And certainly my wife, Becky, has a lot to do with the decorating. What we try and do is we try and furnish a cabin authentically, as much as possible, as if somebody lived here and walked out. You'll see that cabin setting as it would have been seen in the 1800s. Each cabin has its own story. Each cabin is absolutely full of history.
This dilapidated structure, found 10 miles from Hart Square, was used as a barn, but turned out to be an old schoolhouse from the 1840s. Now restored to its original purpose. It was a one-room schoolhouse with 2 doors. One for boys, one for girls. Underneath 3 layers of siding in downtown Hickory, there was a treasure hiding.
Here we have the Borgia cabin, which was built in the early 1800s by Simon Borgia.
And upstairs, we demonstrate everything that you would have found in a weaving house.
Before the Industrial Revolution, families made their own clothes or made clothes for others in upstairs rooms like this. One structure moved to Hart Square from a site in Burke County is still used for its original purpose. This 1760 mill was known by many names before Bob Hart christened it the Hicks and Bradshaw Mill after two of its owners. There once were over 30 mills in Catawba County, each located within a day's wagon drive from its customers. The miller would grind their grain on the barter system. This cabin, built by a carpenter in 1820, boasts a beautiful stone chimney.
I was able to take it down in 2 days. It required over a year to put back. This chimney alone, along with the kitchen chimney, took almost 2 months.
Kitchens back then were detached to reduce the risk of fire in the main house. Meals were typically prepared on an open hearth, cooking at different temperatures and different times over a single fire, juggling several dishes at once. But the tasty home-cooked results usually were worth the time and effort.
This log structure was an original barn, which we moved about 5 miles from here. And one of the first buildings that we put into Hart Square, we've converted it into St. Mark's Chapel. My grandchildren have been baptized in it, and it's been consecrated by the Bishop of North Carolina. Churches and chapels in the early days basically was born of a preacher, and the person who came was called a circuit rider, and he might visit you every 4 to 5 weeks. And in the interval, then you would have somebody that was a deacon or senior member of the church would act as the preacher for that particular service. The circuit rider himself carried an organ which folds up. It's called a wagon organ. It's been in the church here for over 30 years. It's never been tuned. The tone is perfect. One of the things that I love mostly about moving these cabins is going back and finding people that lived in them, that were born in them.
After a day spent searching for one owner, he finally found Essie Norwood, who once lived in this 1860 cabin. Problem was, she was in the hospital.
And only a doctor could go there at 12 o'clock at night and knock on the door and ask her what she was going to do with it. Well, she gave me that cabin. She and 9 children were raised in that one cabin. And she told me she could remember the front room as she came in. She could see through the cracks of the floor. She could see the chickens underneath the cabin. Well, I marked those floorboards, and if you go in that cabin today, you will see cracks in the board you can see all the way to the ground underneath. And I brought her back. You should have seen the tears that came out of her eyes, because we used every board and every window that was in that particular cabin. You know, I give a lot of credit to my wife. She's put up with me now with this village for some 40 years. I say I have a passion. My wife says I've got an obsession. But I promised my wife after about 60 that I wouldn't move another one. I say I'm through, but you know, if you find a real unusual one.
You know how that goes. The spirit is willing, but the heart is weak. A history book inspired his next project. The story was about Adam the Pioneer Sherrill, who in 1747 became the first European to cross the west side of the Catawba River and settle there. To protect his homestead, he built a stockade. You know what happened next.
I look at a log cabin, the first thing is, can it be restored? Well, I love finding something that is not going to be here in 5 or 10 years that I can bring back to life. It's great to find a cabin that has not been restored electrically or new cement or moved. The log stuff between them just falls out. Got old square nails, you can reuse them. I use a lot of modern day tools, even though I find that in some cases the old tools are better. The iron sometimes sharpens better. I use log carriers to carry these logs that are 100 years old. The chisels, I mean, a lot of the stuff we still use even today. I come out here 6 days a week probably. Sundays I go to 8 o'clock service. I'm out here by 9:30. So I can be here from daylight to dark, live every minute.
257.
Several months and countless man-hours later, the 97th restored log structure in Hart Square adds a notch more texture and a whole lot of history to the village. Hart Square is a place filled with home places. Home places rich with memories made over time.
Yes, this house means a lot to me and my sister. We grew up in this house, visiting our great uncles and great aunt.
The house had stood empty for about 15 years. We knew that it would deteriorate. I had heard about Dr. Hart's village, and we sort of sent word to Dr. Hart that we had a log cabin. Our Uncle Wade, who lived in this house, and had always told us there was a log house underneath.
The part we're in right now is like a cocoon that was inside of the rest of the dwelling. We do know that the house is probably the oldest house in the village, with a date of 1763 scratched into one of the bricks on the chimney outside.
It's a special time for us because when we come in and get the house ready for the festival, it's just a time we can be together and reminisce and talk about all the good times that we had here in this house. We're just very happy that the house is here and it can be shared with so many people.
This house, along with everything in it, goes on public display once a year when the village comes alive during the annual Hart Square Festival.
We used to barbecue a pig on the grill just to have a few people come in, and people making apple cider and stuff, but it's grown into a major event. The festival is always the fourth Saturday in October, and tickets sell out in one day.
Beneficiaries include the foundation Bob Hart has established to perpetuate the village and the Catawba County Historical Association.
Good job on the weather, Bob.
Hey, did
Really good job on the weather.
Good job on the weather.
We have 250 people that come in and demonstrate. We like everybody here to be dressed in costume, and I don't know of any place in the country they will come in and demonstrate on original equipment, tools.
We had the grist mill break down, belt broke on it, and we've had somebody relace it. And we had the cotton gin break down.
I got it working.
They got it working.
Why do I think people come here? They see people as they would have seen them in the 1800s.
Will that be awesome or what?
I'll be back 5 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, good.
It brings memories of family, particularly grandparents, great-grandparents, and it's the way that they lived. They can appreciate and remember doing things. They can remember slop jugs. They can remember going to an outhouse, you know, and not having running hot water. And I've enjoyed teaching, and it's a way that I can possibly preserve life, that our generation can appreciate what their forefathers had done to make life as it is today. One of the ways that I relax mostly is when everybody's gone and I can walk through the village and look at the different buildings and have the feeling of warmth as if I had lived in this time. I've had a wonderful life working, doing what I love doing most, and enjoying the history, researching it, putting these buildings back as if somebody lived in them. To me, that's been a way that God said, I love you. I told my wife I want to be cremated. I want my ashes spread over the village. And hopefully, upstairs they may have some log cabins.